Not many people end their YouTube careers before they begin them, but that's exactly what I might do today, because I would be talking about one of the most beloved fantasy series of all time and one of the most beloved fantasy authors. Hi, my name is William F. Youngblood, and it's not really my real name. And welcome to Books and Ball Caps, where I will be talking about some of your favorite fantasy authors and series, and some ones you may not have heard of, and also be wearing a ball cap. Before we start the video, like and subscribe below if you enjoyed the content today. Also leave a comment. It helps the YouTube algorithm so much, and I would appreciate it. So, without further ado, let's get started and into the controversy. I want to preface this with, I love Mistborn, The Final Empire. The first book of the series is phenomenal, and I rated it 5 stars on Goodreads just for that reason. However, Hero of Ages is not a good book. It's not always bad, but it's also not always good. If you have ever seen a Steam review and it says the game has mixed reviews, that is Hero of Ages. It's mixed. So, why do I feel this way? And I know this is going to strike at the heart of a lot of Sanderson apologists who are going to be like, oh no, Mistborn, don't go after Mistborn, it's almost flawless. It's a good series. Even the middle book, Well of Ascension, he doesn't have middle book slump. Unfortunately, the series does do this. It's kind of like, it's not quite a nosedive, but it is a gradual descent and a very rough landing, in my opinion. If you enjoyed the first book, Mistborn, The Final Empire, like I did, you probably didn't like the last one, because Mistborn First Era declines throughout the trilogy because it lost what made the first book, this one, so enjoyable. A hopeful and balanced tone, a group of individuals who made the books exciting with a fast-paced lightness that can help you see through some of the most difficult parts. So let's just talk about that a little bit. I want to let you know ahead of time, there will be spoilers. So if you have not read the Mistborn trilogy by this point, I urge you to go and read the trilogy before you listen to the rest of this video. This is mostly for people who have read the trilogy and, of course, are going to leave their hate comments below. Or perhaps they're going to agree with me and be like, wow, there's somebody else like me out there. So here we go. The first part of my argument has to do with tone. The Final Empire is light and hopeful, despite the horrible circumstances. There's a Lord Ruler. The Lord Ruler is a very oppressive, very domineering, very entitled individual. He saved the world, so therefore he gets to rule everybody and boss everybody around. That's basically what it is. However, there are these groups of people who are resisting. And yes, it's oppressive. Yes, it sucks. But, however, these people who are resisting the Lord Ruler, a group led by a very charismatic, enigmatic individual named Kelsier, he makes this sort of a... What's the word? It's more of a jaunt. It feels more like a heist. If you ever watched the movie Ocean's 11, this book has a lot of those same ideas. And what makes Ocean's 11 so good is what makes Mistborn: The Final Empire so good. I don't know what Mistborn is. It must be Arkansas way of saying Mistborn. But Mistborn: The Final Empire is that way. So, if you've ever read these books, you love D&D, you can see Kelsier's crew in that light. They are a D&D party kind of bunch. They bicker with each other, they get into really tight situations together. And their plot to overthrow the Lord Ruler feels like you would sit at a D&D session and go, so, the Demigorgon, so how are we going to do it? Like, are we going to go through the back of the lair? Are we going to come from below? That's the kind of thing you see, except on a much larger scale. And this character interaction provides some legitimately funny, warm moments. And that leave you going, yeah, the world's bad, but this is enjoyable. This kind of makes you feel like there are good times still ahead, and we all need, God, do we need good times to be ahead in 2021. The tone changes, however, at the end. And again, spoilers. There is a significant character death at the end of the Final Empire. Kelsier sacrifices himself in a kind of faux messianic sort of way. And Kelsier's death changes the tone of the series forever. His presence is almost unquestioned throughout the first book. He kind of lights up everything that is dark. And when he's gone, Sanderson tries to, in some way, make up for it, but reality, he never gets replaced. And it leaves a dark hole in the rest of the books. For instance, Well of Ascension. Well of Ascension is a better book by far than Hero of Ages. But Well of Ascension doesn't have the same kind of tone as Mistborn: The Final Empire has. In fact, this has a more political, uncertain, not quite desperate yet. You get to it toward the end. But the lightheartedness that was found in The Final Empire is gone from Well of Ascension. There are moments because the crew is still kind of together, but for the most part, the lightheartedness has been misplaced. Or replaced. Misplaced? Replaced. By the time you get to Hero of Ages, the tone has become absolutely depressing. Vin, who is a very good developed protagonist, all of Sanderson's characters are well thought out and developed, is left in the hands of companions like Ellen, who, for one thing, is the boring nice guy that nobody really wants to date, and he only gets Vin because, honestly, plot convenience. And Sazid, the guy who's lost the love of his life and therefore has also lost his religious faith and is constantly bemoaning the fact that the universe has no meaning or existence. And everybody else is just too harried to running around to try to do anything. And this just feels like the apocalypse without any humor in it. And I can't believe that if the world was going to end, somebody would not try to make a joke about it. There are no jokes about the end of the world in this book. And it is a depressing slog. So the tone changes. It's ponderous, and it emotionally drags you down. And it is way different than how the series starts, with a light jaunt even in dark times. But there's more to it. We're not finished. The Final Empire, I know I keep turning around so much, the Final Empire is not about the Chosen One trope. And I want to make this clear. Even though Ven is our main protagonist, she shares the screen with Kelsier. And even though Kelsier is also protagonist, he shares the screen with Ven and so forth. And Ven and Kelsier both share the screens with their cast, with the group of people that have to make this happen. Because no one person is going to bring down the Lord Ruler. Yes, in the end, Ven is the one who slays the Lord Ruler, but Ven would never have gotten in that position without the cast. Every character felt important, even the relatively minor ones. And that helped make this book stand out. In a fantasy genre, a lot of times you'll find there's one or two, maybe two people who are the chosen ones. They become all of what the book is all about, and the cast of characters doesn't matter. There are exceptions. For instance, The Wheel of Time, Rand al'Thor is the chosen one. Prophecies even demand it. The prophecies of the dragon demand that you are the dragon reborn. But without the people around Rand, like Egwene and I know it's probably Egwene or whatever. I can't ever say her name right. And Matt and Perrin and Navi. I really can't say that one all the time. Without them, there is no Dragon Reborn. There is no taking on the Dark One, etc. That's true here. It was a team effort to take down the Lord Ruler. The plan required everybody to work, and the execution was a sight to behold. But things fall apart. When we get to the Well of Ascension, the group is fractured and completely sundered by the time you get to Hero of Ages. Yeah, and contrast that with the Wheel of Time, where Rand needs his support cast the entire time. He may be the Dragon Reborn, but he needs people to be doing their job. Two dominant characters grow in power in the rest of the book. The Well of Ascension kind of keeps the team together somewhat, even though things are starting to fall apart, and Kelsier's death is definitely felt. And that strain puts the emotional relationships and pushes the team apart. That may be what Sanderson intended, but what Sanderson intended may not have been what was good for the narrative and for the enjoyment of the series. And so two dominant people start to grow in power, and by the time you get to the Hero of Ages, it's just Ven by herself with Elend. And remember, Elend is boring. He's boring. Yes, he's starting to get more edgy. Yes, he's starting to take on the command and become hard, blah, blah, blah. But Elend, still deep down, is a boring character. And Sazid, at this point, has lost his faith, become completely despondent, and everybody is all over the place. So the entire fate of the world goes from being about the participation amongst this group of people to falling on the shoulders of two individuals, and they both become the chosen ones. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense because this whole series was about the participation of the group and how we need other people. Why all of a sudden do we resurrect the chosen one trope? I don't know. But to me, that makes Hero of Ages a far less superior book than The Final Empire. It ruins the earlier themes. It makes the series something different than it was at the beginning. And to me, that deserves far less than 4 stars. This is a 3-star book. I know it's you hate that, but it's a 3-star book. So finally, there's one more point. One more. And then I'll be finished. Pacing. Final Empire is paced perfectly. There's heist, there's this kind of jaunty energy. You're going back and forth. The scenes flip back, between the two character perspectives, and things seem to be moving at a very brisk pace. Well of Ascension changes that. Things slow down a lot because you're doing political maneuverings, and that kind of makes sense. In fact, the political maneuverings are very interesting. And I think that's what keeps Well of Ascension from being as bad as Hero of Ages. But by the time you get to Hero of Ages, the pace has become as ponderous as the emotion. It's a slog. It's like you were left out in the wasteland and you're having to plod foot by aching foot after you had done about 100 squats, and after never having done squats before doing 100 squats. You are in pain. You're having to ask yourself the question, why am I here? What is existence? Why am I in this wasteland? Why am I voluntarily reading to the end of this book? It's that bad. And I know people are going to say to themselves, well, the Sanderson, all the characters, the story, the emotional impact, that's realistic. Yeah, to an extent. But like I said before, there's no jokes. There's no somebody who's taking like the end of the world. Please, have you watched movies? Have you read most books? I probably would make jokes at the end of the world, because it's that or cry, bawl in the tears, and that's what you wanted to do reading Mistborn, the Hero of Ages. You wanted to cry and bawl in tears because the book is that depressing. So, there you have it. Mistborn, The Final Empire is a 5-star book. It descends into Well of Ascension, which is a 4-star book, which is generally enjoyable to read when you pick it up. But by the time you get to Hero of Ages, everything changes, because the tone is dreadful. We've come from a group participation, a narrative about a great, amazing team of people, to a chosen one narrative about 2 chosen ones who are so depressing that they have a competition about who can be the most depressing person in the pages. And 3, because the pacing makes you think that you're going to die before you reach the end of the book. And that makes you probably think, wow, Will, did you really hate did you really hate the Mistborn series? Not really. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. The last one, I have to admit, there were nights I was like, can I DNF this? Is this allowed? I know it's Sanderson and Mistborn's like fantasy canon, so am I allowed to just kind of push it aside? I did finish it. So, what do you think? Are you one of those people who just run out and shout, oh, Mistborn was so great, one of the best conclusions of a series ever? Or are you like me, where you just got to the end and were like, this isn't the book I picked up to begin with? Did you start out like I did with Game of Thrones and go, man, this is a great series, but by the end of it, you're just like, oh my god, what happened? Is that your experience with Mistborn, The Final Empire, and that whole trilogy? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. Again, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.